Hey, it's Jason here, Fraser Valley Rose Farm. Well, it's mid-November now, and it's time for me to consider putting my roses to bed for the winter. And I'm not talking about the ones in the landscape. Actually, if you're talking about pruning the ones in the landscape, my previous recommendations hold firm. Do a good spring pruning. You can continue to do some structural pruning all the way through the summer, stop in August or so, and let them recover for the winter. But on the ones that are going into pots and are going to be overwintered in my greenhouse for sale next year, I can continue pruning up late like this, and I actually prefer to do that, and I'm going to tell you why. So there's actually three reasons why I would do that. Number one reason is I can get away with it. I've got greenhouses. They're going to be protected from the worst of the winter cold and wind. They're going to be still and well watered. They're going to be managed all winter, so I can get away with it. The ones out in the landscape, they have to fend for themselves. But in the greenhouse, I'll be taking care of them, so I don't have to worry too much about the kind of winter damage they'll take in there. The second reason that I do it is because when I store them for the winter, I'm going to want to get them pot tight, consolidate them together to save space and to make them easier to manage. And I'll show you here, I got a couple of roses here that have grown through the summer, and you can see they got lots and lots of shoots on them. If I try to put them close together like that, they're all tangled up, they're a mess. So to save space and to make it easier to manage, pardon me, then I'm going to want to prune off those branches. The third reason why has to do with the kind of time that I have in the spring. So I'm quite busy in the spring. I have a little more time in November and December. So what I can do then is I can take some of that work that I'm going to have to do on the roses anyway, pruning them back to an acceptable shape and a proper shape for sales in the spring, and I can do that in November instead of waiting until February, March when I just don't have as much time to do it. So that's going to be the focus of this, is bring them back down to a good, tidy, and saleable shape. So I'm going to give you some examples here. And first I'm going to start with this guy here as an example. And you can see that this one here, well, it's had some summer growth, right? And my goal on this one here is to get it back into a shape where it has, 2, 3, or 4 good canes going up in different directions, kind of open in the center. One thing I don't like about this one here in particular is it has all this sort of spindly growth in the middle here. And spindly growth is not something that helps you to sell the rose. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to strike it right down low here and take out this tangle. Now, that's not 4 canes, that's not 5 canes, it's only 2. That's okay. This is a young rose, and what I'm also hoping to do by cutting it like this is to encourage it to send some other shoots from down low next year. So for now, I'm just going to concentrate on getting a good open shape and taking off the excess height and growth. This here, I'd be happy to overwinter in that condition. Okay, let's try another example here, because you're not going to get the idea with just one. This guy here, you can see it's done this long jump up here on this one here. Unnecessary, I'm taking that off. Also, just to get rid of the congestion in the middle of the rose, and take off that piece there. And what I'm left with, something like this here. Now, you can strip off leaves at this point, but the truth is, because we have a mild winter climate here and they're going to be in the greenhouse, I can kind of leave them to do that on their own over the course of the winter, and I'll just check in on them from time to time and take off the foliage as it starts to drop. Here's a third example. So, this one here, you can see it's grown into the center again a little bit, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do right now, I don't know if you can see that, and take out, there you go. That took out some of it. Next thing I'm going to do is just control for height. And maybe I will just take off this piece here. So now, again, what I'm left with is, in this case, 5 canes. Might even take off one more, make it down to 4. That will consolidate nicely with its neighbors, and it's a good shape to encourage spring growth. And one more here. This is narrow water. It's kind of a special case because narrow water is a climbing rose. And so if I don't leave a couple of longer shoots here, people won't get the idea if I'm trying to sell it to them as a climbing rose. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm just going to favor one of the central climbing shoots. That's this one here. And I think I might even get rid of this whole tangled mess over here. Again, that's not 4 or 5 shoots as I would favor, just one long central shoot, but for a climber, I think that should be okay. So consolidate those up in your greenhouse, keep them tight, manage the water on the low side, and let the foliage drop throughout the winter, and you've got a good crop that should be ready to burst into growth in the spring. I hope that's helped you out with any of your questions about pruning container roses for the winter. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below.